Turn up your mind.
What are we talking about here? Cows eating free government grass. Can I make my position any more clear to Mr. Stewart? I stand for proportionality. What I do not stand for are 200 armed federal agents and snipers pointing their guns at the Bundy family and their supporters. I do not support members of the BLM pushing, shoving women and cattle being euthanized and killed in mass graves for cattle for no reason. But I have to be honest. I am shocked that Jon Stewart, who claims that he's such a devout law and order type of guy, would be okay with any of this. In all seriousness, that's a lot of pepper spray.
Yeah. It was a lot of pepper spray.
All right, did they cross the line? I don't think so.
No, that was proportional. In fact, they couldn't have crossed the line because I didn't even see a line because my eyes were burning because I just had a pepper spray subfoot shower. So that is a responsible exercise of authority. I mean, those people were clearly there, which I believe is provocation enough. The protesters were in possession of butts with intent to sit. So that sriracha bukkake was entirely appropriate. Sriracha. By the way, trademark phrase.
Oh, my God.
Well, what about stop and frisk, the random search and seizure based purely on appearance? Is that proportional or authority overreach?
Officials have cited the police tactic as being instrumental in reducing major crime in the Big Apple. As soon as they started it, murder rates went down, crime went down.
But just to say someone is suspicious because they're black and brown,
I think you want to tie the hands of law enforcement.
Ah! Can't tie the hands of law enforcement. Sean Hannity will not allow this nation's law enforcement officers to have their hands tied when they need them to frisk the brown people. Brown cows, on the other hand, have certain constitutional rights.
Very strange, and it's getting even stranger. Enter, if you will, the year of 1965. Oh, my God. I want to live in the 21st century so bad that I'm willing to leave this bubble of talk radio just to go there because it doesn't exist here. It's like, I don't know, it's either 1925 on some days and some day, you know, robber barons and corporate titans are the most, and the tax code must favor, and, you know, and then some days it's just 1965, you know, where we talk about the Negroes now. You know, Cliven Bundy. I don't know if you know that there's audio, but there is, and I have it. Oh, yes. Cliven Bundy, for 55 freaking minutes, almost an hour, held court by the Virgin River, which got pregnant with Jesus or something. I don't know. The Virgin River right up the road from the checkpoint at the driveway of his ranch, which is armed, by the way. It's armed by guys like, oh, remember our friend James Yeager? Does anybody remember our good friend James Yeager, who when we all screamed out that we wanted some background checks to keep guns out of the hands of the mentally deficient, the mentally ill, the adjudicated mentally ill, the people on massive amounts of psychotropic drugs. Remember that? James Yeager got locked and loaded and started screaming at the media that he was going to kill people, and it turned out that James Yeager had his concealed carry permit taken away from him. And the whole right wing went ballistic, literally. I mean, this is not a term of art anymore. This is an actual phase of their behavior when they go ballistic, right? And then James Yeager was investigated by the Secret Service, and then he was given back his guns. Well, he's down at the ranch with Cliven. Just to refresh, because I know we have very short attention spans here in talk radio. This is James Yeager last year.
Hi, this is James Yeager for Tactical Response, and I'm kind of mad right now. I just got a news update. Today is the 9th of January 2013, that Vice President Biden is asking the president to bypass Congress.
Bypass.
And use executive privilege, executive order, to ban assault rifles, to impose stricter gun control. I'm telling you that if that happens, it's going to spark a civil war, and I'll be glad to fire the first shot. I'm not putting up with it. You shouldn't put up with it. And I need all you patriots to start thinking about what you're going to do. Load your damn mags, make sure your rifle's clean, pack a backpack with some food in it, and get ready to fight. I'm not putting up with this. I am not letting my country...
Begins. God only knows what the other things he said about the Negro before the tape started rolling. I think this is the inspiration for saying, I'm recording this, okay? But this is one more thing he knows about the Negro.
I want to tell you one more thing I know about the Negro. When I go through Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, and I would see these little government houses, and in front of that government house, the door was usually open, and the older people and the kids, and there's always at least a half a dozen people sitting on the porch. They didn't have nothing to do. They didn't have nothing for their kids to do. They didn't have nothing for their young girls to do. And because they were basically on government subsidy, and so now what do? They abort their young children.
Oh my God.
They put their young men in jail because they never learned how to pick cotton. And I've often wondered, are they better off as slaves, picking cotton, having family life and doing things, or are they better off under government subsidy? They just transferred it, that's all. Yeah, they didn't get no more freedom. They got less freedom. They had less family alive, and their happiness, you can see in their faces, they weren't happy sitting on that concrete sidewalk. Down there, they were probably growing their turnips. So that's all government. That's not freedom.
And there you have it. Cliven Bundy, as it turns out, is a white supremacist. He's a bigot. He's a racist. I wonder if he's part of the grievance industry. Oh, no. And, by the way, Fox News has gone dead silent on the matter of Cliven Bundy now. Now they won't even, this morning I was talking to Beowulf, and he said, what are they going to do over at Fox? And I said, what do they always do at Fox News? It's like Tiller the Baby Killer. That was a rant that went on for like a year, maybe more. And as soon as some crazy lunatic extremist killed that man in his church, all of a sudden, they didn't know who Tiller was. They didn't know him. They never heard of him. They didn't broadcast anything. Their hands were... What are you talking... And the same thing has happened with Cliven Bundy. All of a sudden, there are no more reports from the ranch. Sean Hannity isn't talking about Cliven Bundy. Because... He speaks like Sarah Palin, except that in a way that makes Sarah Palin sound like Charlie Rose. You know what I mean? That's how rambling and douchey he is. But it is an amazing thing that, every time you scratch away at, one of these guys, he bleeds white supremacy. It's just so interesting. And these are the Tea Party fools. These are the freaks. This is it. By the way, I dare you to drive by any, downtown in West Virginia or in a small town in southern Ohio or anywhere in rural Kentucky and see how many guys, white ones, are hanging out all day with nothing to do. Oh, my God. It's so amazing. I'm starting to believe that Cliven Bundy's family has been ranching since the 1870s because he seems to be living in it. Negro, one more thing I know about the Negro, God only knows what he's, and he's not stopping. He's gone on radio shows today, okay, because he loves the celebrity. He's addicted to the rush. It's just, and he went on, he did? Oh. I thought he said he went on Hannity. I'm like, Hannity's going to walk away from him. That's, like all of a sudden I know nothing. I don't know who that guy is. Sure, he was my big... I'm telling you, they have never found a gun nut, a white supremacist, an anti-Semite, anybody who is willing to, take on the government, that they couldn't make into a hero. But if you're not a white supremacist, if you're not a militia guy, if you're not a gun nut, and you sit quietly and the police come and pepper spray you at point blank range with a giant canister and just right down the line, then somehow you're in the wrong? This is just so strange. I can't. I want to live in the 21st century. Is that so wrong?
You know, I'm wondering, are they happier now under this government subsidy system than they were when they were slaves and they was able to have their family structure together and the chickens and the garden and
oh my God.
The people had something to do? And so, in my mind, I'm wondering, are they better off being slaves in that sense, or better off being slaves to the United States government in the sense of subsidy? I'm wondering. That's what the statement was right. I am wondering.
I have wondered if slavery was right. I have one. He's doubling down. This guy just can't stop. I mean, he got this little taste of celebrity, and now the total white supremacist side of these militia people and the Clive and Bundys of the world and the Trent Lotts. Remember Trent Lott? Trent Lott was, you know, he was the Senate Minority Leader. He said America should have remained legally segregated. How happy black people were living under lynching laws. You had a presidential candidate call Barack Obama food stamp president. You had a campaign surrogate calling Barack Obama a subhuman mongrel. You know, you just can't get away every time they open their mouth and really show you who they are from the white supremacy. It is one of the most dominant forces in the history of American politics. And you would think that after the 60s, you know, you would think that, but no, the Supreme Court is, everybody's giving a live assist to turning back the hands of time and putting us back into some either pre-Civil War era or pre-civil rights era. I mean, we just had the Voting Rights Act gutted, and now you've got affirmative action being gutted by the Supreme Court. I gotta say, you know, and it's just so amazingly white supremacist. Now, I will say, John Roberts is a little more articulate than Clive and Bundy. Scalia, not so much.
We've held that the 14th Amendment protects all races. I mean, that was the argument in the early years, that it protected only the blacks. But I thought we rejected that.
No, we didn't reject that. I mean, you know, he is. It's so amazing how you know, every election cycle that Barack Obama has been involved in one way or another, either as a senator. This is when it started, 2004, either as a senator and a Senate candidate or as a presidential candidate 2 times, and now in a midterm election where he is not on the ballot. He is nowhere on the ballot and won't be in 2016 either. Now all of a sudden, I mean, they're just in a frenzy. It's all back again. The militia movement is back. The white supremacist talk is back. The hatred is front and center again. And, you know, listen, a lot of us who've lived through all this, we all know it never really went away. It just became publicly unacceptable. We were able to shame those people into shutting the F up. We were able to make them feel ashamed of their bigotry, of their hatred, of their own lack of self-esteem. We were able to show them that it had no place in our homes, it had no place in our political discourse, it had no place in our broadcasts, it had no place in our children's lives. But they kind of, you know, they paid this sort of a public price. They called it, you know, of course they told us we were just politically correct. And in a weird way, political correctness was the tool to shame them. The real hammer, the real weapon against them was unadulterated shame, meaning there were consequences. There was actually a public credibility problem that they had. They weren't allowed, you know, to say these things in our homes. They weren't allowed to come to those family dinners and say those things, you know. And it worked for a while. And then we turned the light off because the right wing kept telling us we were politically.
You know, I'm wondering, are they happier now under this government subsidy system than they were when they were slaves and they was able to have their family structure together and the chickens and the garden and the people had something to do?
And so, in my mind, I'm wondering, are they better off being slaves in that sense, or better off being slaves to the United States government in the sense of a subsidy? I'm wondering. That's what the statement was right. I am wondering.
You, the uber-American, this man is your cause?
I don't recognize the United States government as even existing.
He doesn't recognize America's existence. He's a U.S. atheist. Because the federal government does exist. In fact, it was created by those guys in that document you love so, so much.
The beauty of, I think, our framers and our founders is they put in place this document where they had the ability to right wrongs and correct injustices. Right. The American people really want a return to first principles and constitutional government. I love Washington because he gave up power. Amazing to me when he could have held on to it. Washington.
Now there's a founding father who could found the out of everything. How do you think he would handle an armed group of federal government rejectionists who wouldn't pay their taxes? Well, we don't really need to speculate because it was called the Whiskey Rebellion.
Hello.
And Washington, with his federal army, crushed it in 1794. I guess you would say disproportionately. And the reason that he was legally allowed to do that was because a man named Daniel Shays pulled the same in 1786 and 1787. That's him apparently rolling down a hill. So the Founding Fathers called the Constitutional Convention to form a much stronger federal government that could collect taxes by force if necessary, which I guess makes you, Sean Hannity, not an American patriot, but an anti-federalist, or to be kind, let's just say you love the Founding Fathers, but only their early work before they sold out and became the man or men or white property-owning men.
Exactly. This is the revisionist history. Who told you about the Whiskey Rebellion? Who actually told you about it? And the Militia Act, okay? I mean, honest to God, you know, the Whiskey Rebellion, Washington, he actually, when he sent out the federal troops, 13,000 of them, to crush the Whiskey Rebellion, which was a tax rebellion. They didn't want to pay taxes on the whiskey, hence the Whiskey Rebellion. 13,000 of the federal militia, or as we like to call it now, the Bureau of Land Management, the National Guard, if you will, they all rode out to put down the insurrection of the Whiskey Rebellion. Guess who was riding the front horse? Guess who was in the front of the federal government? Of the federal officers who put down the insurrectionists that started the Whiskey Rebellion. Yes, it was the Founding Father himself, George. That's who was the front rider, the very first guy in that 13,000-strong government force brought to bear against the rebellion over the whiskey. I mean, you know, look, it just took my breath away last night because I'm sitting there saying, God, and then this morning you wake up and all over it's the front page of the New York Times today. The story about Mr. Bundy is on the front page of the New York Times today, that he held court and for an hour, you know, supposed that slavery was a better condition for African Americans to find themselves in than being free people in America today. I mean, this is really the kind of crap that they spew. This is exactly what, and the amount, you know, the thing about this one that really made it horrible from the beginning of this story wasn't just that the usual suspects. I mean, yes, I said, oh, I'm shocked that there's gambling in Casablanca when I saw the front page of the New York Times today. Oh, yeah, I'm shocked, I tell you, shocked that they're white supremacists. Yes, there's gambling, round up the usual suspects, right? I mean, there was nothing really surprising about it, because nothing, you know, while everything surprises me, I also know there's nothing new under the sun. So I was unsurprised to discover that the rugged individualist Cliven Bundy is a white supremacist and the bearer of some very bizarre theories about African Americans and their freedom. But what really makes this so hideous, it's not just that the right wing did what they did with Zimmerman, who shot and killed an unarmed teenager. A teenager. And then tried to blame the teenager's clothing for his own death. The commonly known hoodie that is worn by everybody suddenly became the reason that Trayvon Martin deserved to die. Michael Dunn, the whole thing with the car and the loud music, well, it was loud rap music. Therefore, he was in the right to shoot these kids. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's not just that they come to the rescue of all these people that really, really peeves you. And it's not just that they even, listen, HLN got in on it, too. They put this guy, Frank Taffy, on the air every single night during both the Zimmerman and the Dunn trials. Every single night, knowing that he had his own podcast where he was saying some of the most disgusting white supremacist, just wow things.
We're sick and tired of this this country where one minority group dominates and dictates what the majority is supposed to be doing. I don't think that's the way it works. And that minority group, they don't do anything productive for this country.
Oh my God.
Well, look, I'm not going to say that they're controlling
except for the NBA. And if it wasn't for the NBA, Joe, like I always say, our country would have the world's tallest garbage men. Okay? Thank God for the NBA. So it goes back to the premise that, I once said that the only time that a black life is validated is when a white person kills them. Okay? Other than that, we're part of the groove, man. It's okay to off 12 of us, and nobody cares. But I guarantee you that if I stormed into the local KFC with the AR-15 and offed about 12 of them, I don't think I'd make it out the front door.
Frank Taffy, everybody. The George Zimmerman trial, Fox News, the Sean Hannity of the world, sitting there praising Zimmerman, interviewing his brother, talking to Frank Taffy, the best friend of George Zimmerman. The same thing repeats itself in the Michael Dunn trial. Same thing. I mean, and then you do have, Clive and Bundy, and you do have all these armed white supremacists, and they go running to their side. They go, anybody with a gun who's willing to shoot or denigrate African Americans is welcome on their airwaves. I mean, and then they're going to sit there and tell me that I'm part of a grievance industry because I'm grieving for the character of my country. I'm grieving. I can't even stand it anymore. I can't even stand it. But you know what? The idea that this is what made it different for me. Back in the 90s when we had this militia movement where we had a Timothy McVeigh, you had, somebody blow up the federal building. You had all these, the Ruby Ridge. You had the Waco situation. And, of course, the right wing always gravitated to the side of the person who was molesting the children or stockpiling the weapons or burning down his own compound or had a cult, whatever. As long as he was armed and white, they could run to his, side and defend him. Same thing with Ruby Ridge. They could always find a way to run to the side of the tax evader, run to the side of the person who was breaking the law, run to the side of the person who was molesting the child, run to the side of the person, that was in a church, that was in his own living room. As long as he was killed by somebody with, like-minded thinking, they were welcome on right-wing talk radio at the time. And now, of course, the whole right-wing news thing, they'll embrace that. But this time around, you had actual senators, actual presidential candidates, actual House members. Yeah, Representative Pat Garofalo, he tweeted out, let's be honest, 70% of the teams in the NBA could fold tomorrow and nobody would notice a difference with the possible exception of an increase in street crime. Okay? I mean, now you've got legislators, you've got people in government who are running to the side of the white supremacists, trying to sell themselves as, Tea Party people or conservatives and all they are is a bunch of white supremacists, John Birchers. They're just a bunch of lunatics. They're a bunch of fascists. They're a bunch of people who are, in the mood to tell America that the reason why 85% of the poorest counties in our country are rural white American counties is somehow got to do with inner city black people. I don't even get it. I don't understand it. I will never, for the life of me, understand, how they get there. I just know they want to get there because there is a segment of the population in America that says, yes, that's true. And they will show up to vote. But you had Ted Cruz.
I think the reason that this issue is resonating, it's resonating in Nevada and Texas and resonating across the country, is that for 5 years we have seen our liberty under assault. We have seen our liberty under assault from a federal government that seems hell-bent on expanding its authority over every aspect of our lives. And Thomas Jefferson famously said,
stop it.
The Constitution is meant to serve as chains to bind the mischief of government. And we have seen, sadly, our constitutional liberties eroded under the Obama administration. And I think it is in that context that people are viewing this battle with the federal government.
You are the federal government, you fool. You're a senator of the largest state in America. You're a senator. You are the freaking government. Who's more government than you, baby? Oh, my God. They've all come to the... Mike Huckabee came to the rescue.
Out in Nevada today, federal agents are pointing rifles at American citizens
who are armed to the teeth. Armed to the teeth and ready to kill people.
This is Jim Jagger for Tactical Response, and I'm kind of mad right now. I just got a news update. Today is the 9th of January 2013, that Vice President Biden is asking the president to bypass Congress and use executive privilege, executive order to ban assault rifles, to impose stricter gun control. I'm telling you that if that happens, it's going to spark a civil war, and I'll be glad to fire the first shot. I'm not putting up with it. You shouldn't put up with it. And I need all you patriots to start thinking about what you're going to do. Load your damn mags, make sure your rifle's clean, pack a backpack with some food in it, and get ready to fight. I'm not putting up with this. I am not letting my country be ruled by a dictator. I'm not letting anybody take my guns. If it goes 1 inch further, I'm going to start killing people.
This is who they're defending.
in an escalation of a standoff over a man who for 20 years has grazed his cattle on some land that the state owns. I'm not here to jump in on the middle of whether, Cliven Bundy ought to pay the state or pay anybody for the chance for his cows to eat some grass.
Oh, my God.
Here's what I would suggest, that there is something incredibly wrong when a government believes that some blades of grass that a cow is eating is so an egregious affront to the government of the United States that we would literally put a gun in a citizen's face and threaten to shoot him over it. Here's what I'd have to ask.
You know, I got to tell you, this is a white supremacist who is surrounded by a militia movement, Oath Keepers and patriot groups and all these, real psycho people who are just spoiling for a fight. They just want to start shooting and killing. They just want to. They have been told that their government is here to hurt them. They have been fed a steady diet of this for 30 freaking years. They have been fed a steady diet of racism. There's no question. There is no question. Anti-Semitism, racism, mostly racism, anti-gay rhetoric. The president isn't legitimate. He's a Muslim. He's here to undermine the government. You're all, we're going to take your guns away. I mean, all of these lies, they actually have consequences. People believe them. They say them often enough that the propaganda actually, as George Bush once famously said, got catapulted. We have to keep repeating things over and over again to catapult the propaganda. I mean, they knew what they were doing, and every once in a while they would tell you what they were doing in a cleansing moment of clarity. And now you've got these crazy people that live among us. And yesterday in Georgia, they just passed like a guns everywhere law. A guns everywhere. You combine deep-seated hatred for groups of people based on race or religion or both, a deep-seated hatred of your government with semi-automatic rifles and armed lunatics, it's not going to turn out well. It never does. It can't. And that's what they want. Because in chaos, you can steal. That's what all this is about. It's sad, but it's real. 49 after.
Randi Rhodes.
More woman than you can handle. But, want to try? 866-87-RANDY. This is The Randi Rhodes Show.
Join us online at 1480kphx.com. This is Progressive Radio in Phoenix, 1480 KPHX.
I've often wondered, are they better off as slaves picking cotton and having a family life and doing things, or are they better off under government subsidy? Are those quotes accurate? Because you told me that's not exactly what you said.
No, that's not exactly what it was said.
And I've often wondered, are they better off as slaves picking cotton, having family life and doing things, or are they better off under government subsidy?
Oh, my God. Now he's denying to Alex Jones he's denying that he said it? This is just like the most amazing Alice in Wonderland environment in which to get information. I swear to God, I just don't know how, people are going to sort all, how are you going to get through? It just blows my mind. It really does blow my mind. He's been so far today, I'm just sitting here, and Cliven Bundy has been on Peter Schiff's show, Alex Jones's show. I will tell you that Andrew Kaczynski at BuzzFeed is counting the mentions of Bundy today on all the different networks. Fox News mentioned Bundy today 2 times, and the mentions of Bundy in April before today, before he, started showing everybody how, supremely white he is, 458 mentions. 458. He was interviewed almost every single day on Fox News during the month of April. And today they've mentioned him exactly 2 times. Now they're going to pretend that they don't even know who he is on the Fox News. So he's going and doing all these radio shows, and now in just the space of a couple hours, he's done a right-wing show where he doubles down on the slaves remark and still says he wonders if they were better off, if Africans were better off before they were citizens of this country and they were owned. They were owned and beaten. That might have been better than today. And now he's on Alex Jones's show saying he didn't say that. I got to tell you something. This whole Alice in Wonderland thing, this uber nationalism, this identifying your enemy as being a Muslim and now a black person and maybe a Jew here and there, this disappearance of your civil rights, the spying, the corporations being protected, the glorification of a militia movement, unchecked. These are all the signs. These are all of them.